Hello and welcome to this week's Women's Football Chat. My name is Chris Gadsby. I'm here every Thursday at 6 p.m. bringing you the very latest from the third and fourth tiers of women's football here in England and Wales. That is the FA Women's National League, and it's fixture release week. The fixtures came out on Monday, which means behind me you can see the board that has been bare for far too long has now got red writing all over it from the first month or so of the fixtures for the new season. A couple of blank columns, as you can see. We've got the determining round of the Cup and the first round of the Cup currently on that board, and they have not yet been drawn. But we do have fixtures to look forward to on the 20th of August. Maybe. We'll get into that in a little bit later on. But I'm going to start with some of the news around the FAWNL over the past 7 days or so. Quite a few stadium moves, really, as well. Forest have moved to Grange Park. York have moved. Southampton have moved. Solihull have moved. We'll get into all those when we look at the fixtures in a bit more detail. But we are going to start with Nottingham Forest, who have kind of reacted, I suppose. It was probably in the works anyway, but to Newcastle going full-time professional, is that Forest are operating a professional hybrid model for the upcoming season. So the women's team is now integrated fully within Nottingham Forest Football Club, and this professional hybrid model is instated with a plan to move to full-time professional. So on the club website, Nottingham Forest is delighted to announce the full integration of Nottingham Forest women into the wider football department at the club. This places it at the heart of Nottingham Forest's high-performance team with access to first-class facilities and support from the club's staff. This integration will see the women's first team move to a professional hybrid model for the 23-24 season as phase one of a strategy to ultimately create a full-time professional team. The hybrid model will help the club to achieve its ambition of promotion to the Barclays Championship, which is a bold statement. This hybrid model will result in promotion to the Championship. The new model will see an increased number of training sessions for the first team squad, and Forest women players will be offered contracts for the first time in the club's history. Of course, this article doesn't go into details on those contracts in terms of hours, wage, all the rest of it. So joining the football department under the leadership of Chief Football Officer Ross Wilson, Forest women will relocate to the Nigel Doughty Academy for their training sessions, which is the kind of the training centre for the men as well, allowing them to benefit from a shared methodology and innovation with the other Forest staff and teams based there. Then we get into, as part of the restructure, the club will disband the current reserve team, reassign its staff to the women's first team and girls pathway. This will give the club the opportunity to optimise its current resources and establish a more dynamic structure that better aligns with the club's overall strategy. Current reserve team players will receive support and signposting until such time as they find new opportunities within the women's game or elsewhere. Nottingham Forest chairman Nicholas Randall KC said, "When we arrived at the club 6 years ago, one of our key objectives, as determined by the owner Mr Marinakis, was to reintegrate the women's team into the club structure and to nurture and develop it alongside all other areas of the club. Today's announcement is a landmark moment for us all and represents the culmination of 6 years of development and investment. We're delighted with the progress made and look forward to further growth and success in the future." Women and girls manager Amber Wildgus shared her thoughts. Their exciting plans to integrate the women and girls department within the wider football department at the club. The board and the ownership have given real backing to the women's team, and the future is incredibly positive. This will start with the women's first team relocating to the training ground and operating a hybrid professional model. We are confident we can establish a women's team that will make the people of Nottingham proud. Now, that then goes along. That came a day after the news that they'd moved to Long Eaton's ground, which is closer to the city ground. And for want of a better phrase, on the correct side of Nottingham for the kind of core Forest fans. It's about 20-25 minutes from the City Ground, better than the 40-45 minutes that it was over to Eastwood. Much better car parking, which is a good thing from the point of view. We had 1,700 at the game against Stoke at the end of the season. Car parking was a nightmare. So maybe they'll get bigger crowds in there as well. That you kind of have to look at the lines, and I am not doubting. Of course, this is, those of you who have been long term with the show will know they are doing this with kind of a bit of my used to be at the club head on, in that there is obviously a big plan here, as they're they wouldn't do anything without having a big plan. But you look at the face of it and you go, well, okay, they've currently got 5 registered players. They've come out of the shadows, really, because it has been radio silent pretty much throughout the whole summer. There's no kind of announced head coach at the moment after Andy Cook left. There's only currently 5 registered players as of yesterday when I last checked, because I was having a look for fantasy football. 7 players have now departed. Naomi Powell, Jana Mitchell, Georgia Hewitt after more than 100 appearances, Charlotte Steggles, Amy West, more than 50 appearances each, Yasmin Mosby, Rosetta Taylor have also moved on as well. Entire reserve team has been disbanded, called into a meeting yesterday, and basically told you're all released. So it's slightly concerning from an outside point of view, which I am now, as to the direction. They had to react and do something to Newcastle going full time, not doubting that in the slightest. But it just, and I'm sure, as I said, there is a plan and everything like that. But they've got a first pre-season game on Wednesday against Rugby Borough, so it'll be interesting to see what kind of team gets put out for that and what happens in the next exactly 1 calendar month now between today and the start of the season. So very interesting to see what happens with Forest over the course of the next month or so. Now then, let's move away from Forest. We will move now towards the fixtures. We have had the fixtures came out on Monday at midday, and let's have a look at them. We'll start in the Northern Premier Division. This would be your first opportunity to have a look at some of the new graphics I've got ready for next season as well. Northern Premier Division, Derby County against Wolverhampton Wanderers, Huddersfield Town against AFC Fylde, Liverpool Feds against Burnley, Newcastle United against Halifax, Nottingham Forest against Stourbridge, and West Bromwich Albion against Stoke City. So one of the new things I'm doing this year, all the club logos are next to their names, bit of colour to the graphics, but also letting you know where you can go and watch them with the address of the stadiums underneath each game. Now you will notice on here, and you will notice it majoritively on all of the fixtures, teams are playing teams that are very local to them. And it has been a point that has been raised before, in that the opening day of the season clashes with the final of the Women's World Cup. Now, although there has been, and I haven't gone to the league about this yet, but everyone is playing teams local to them, it would appear that therefore there is the possibility, with these games starting at 2:00 and the Women's World Cup final starting at 11, there's obviously could well be a clash. So whether, should England make the final, the opening weekend just gets completely wiped out, and because they're all local games, they are easier to move to midweek, perhaps. The one that doesn't work for, if we go to the southern fixtures, is Cardiff City against Ipswich Town. Two teams that could probably not be further away from each other in the Southern Premier Division. But it doesn't work amazingly in the Southern Premier Division. Chatham Town against #United is relatively close. MK Dons against Oxford, relatively close. Plymouth are far away from everybody anyway. But they've got to go from obviously deep in the south. Well, Billericay have got to go from the southeast all the way over to the southwest. Portsmouth against Cheltenham, a bit close, but they could have done some closer ones there. Rugby against London, again a bit close, could have done some further ones there. Division 1 North kind of does work again as well. Barnsley against Chorley, Chester Street Town take on Durham Sestra, FC United of Manchester against Doncaster Rovers Bells, Leeds United take on Stockport County, Middlesbrough against Norton and Stockton Ancients, that's a clear one up there in the northeast, and York City against Hull City, again another very close one. Division 1 Midlands, Lincoln against Notts County, Northampton Town take on Peterborough United, Sheffield against Loughborough Lightning, Solihull Moors against Boldmere St Michael's, Sporting Cowser against Leafield Athletic, and Sutton Coldfield Town against Leek Town. Again, kind of works. South East is the one where it's most obvious to me. AFC Sudbury against Norwich City, two very close sides. Then you've got that one underneath there, Cambridge City against Cambridge United. The derby, the Cambridge derby on the opening day of the season is never normally, you don't normally put derbies on the opening day of the season. And that just seems like a prime example there of trying to get all the fixtures as close between teams as possible to make it as easy as possible should they decide to postpone the start of the season because of the World Cup. It seems too... what's the word I'm looking for here? There's too many kind of coincidental, very close games to each other for it to have a factor. There's been nothing from the league on this and said this is what we've done and why we've done it. It just happens as it does with the FAWNL a lot of the time. And then Division 1 South West, again, it kind of works. Swindon against Abingdon. I mean, Abingdon's only Oxford way. Bridgewater Exeter, again, is relatively close. Keynsham Maidenhead, Portishead Torquay, Chelsea against Bournemouth, Southampton Women's against Moneyfield, very close in there. Southampton Women's moved to the Test Park Sports Ground. One there. York City have also moved. Solihull have moved. But so those are the fixtures for the opening day of the season. And as I said, we'll wait to see what happens if they do definitely go ahead, if they get postponed. Of course, we won't know that until we know what's happening with England. Now, I had a look at the bracket, and regardless of if England come first or second in their group, England's semi-final is on the Wednesday. So that would be Wednesday the 16th of August. And then the season's meant to get underway on the 20th, which is the day of the final. So obviously with games being postponed, you don't need that 5-day notice period of suddenly playing a game. They have plenty of that notice period. So is it going to be a case of literally at full time of the semi-final, should England get there, and they get into the final, they go, right, well, there you go, you're playing, or right, there you go, you're not playing because we're all going to watch the final. So we'll wait and see. Hopefully it's a quick decision off the basis of that, because then with me recording the show on the 17th, it could just get completely thrown out of the water if that decision is then made. We don't know. We'll see what happens over the course of the next few weeks. But with that in mind, and with the fixtures coming out, FAWNL Predictor League is now live. So if you go on to the Women's Football Chat website, which is www.womensfootballchat.wordpress.com, no apostrophe in women's, you will be able to find the page about the Predictor League, and you can sign up for the Predictor League for next season. All 6 divisions are on there, so you can take part in 1, 2, 3, or all 6 if you want to. And predict the fixtures throughout the course of the season. You get... I had to load in every single fixture manually because I couldn't export out of full time, but they are now all on there, or 132 per division. They're all on there now. You can sign up completely free. Nothing on your part. Put your predictions in at least 2 hours before the games start, so midday on a Sunday and 5:45 on a midweek game. 1 point for the correct winner, 2 points if you get the correct winner with the correct goal difference, and 4 points if you get the score exactly right. We'll compete throughout the season. There's about 20 people so far. If you haven't already signed up, as I said, you can sign up through my website, womensfootballchat.wordpress.com, and should be a very entertaining season. But that will about do it for this week's Women's Football Chat. A bit of a shorter one again, I know. But we're only a few weeks away now from the start of the season where things will ramp up. Hopefully soon we'll get a draw for the determining round of the Cup as well, and we can go through that. But thank you very much for watching and or listening to this week's Women's Football Chat. Keep supporting your local women's football team. Any information about your club that you see, feel free to send them to me on Twitter at Chris_Gadsby. As I said, Predictor League is up and running. That means I can focus entirely on fantasy football. The user interface is now done. It is just a case now of keeping those players ticking over and making sure I've got players in the right team, making sure they're all registered and everything like that. So that will be going live, I'm hoping, 2 or 3 weeks' time, give you a chance to get a team together before the opening day of the season. As I said, thank you very much for watching and or listening to this week's Women's Football Chat, and goodbye.